Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wundertalks. This is episode 44, I think. And today it's just me. I'm both moderating and doing the presentation. And the topic today is Platform.sh. And it's not really a marketing thing or trying to say, hey, how cool is this? It's really a hands-on demo of, well, what is this thing? What does it look like? And what is it like to use it? So we're going to switch to screen sharing in just a second, and we'll take a look at how this thing works. So there we go. I'm going to share the entire screen. There, we have some funky effect. Can close this. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. Just post something in HipChat if you don't see anything or if you don't hear anything. I think you should see everything fine. So I set up a quick little project. This is not something that's supposed to look very fancy. It's a Drupal 7 site that is hosted on a test demo project on the platform. So here's a quick agenda for what I'd like to talk about today. I'm not sure I'm going to get to go through all the points in details, but this is more of an outline. And we'll see how far we go. And yeah, it's going to be quite spontaneous. And things might break, things might happen. This is the live demo. So first things first, maybe, you want to get access to your first project. The way to do this is you go to Platform.sh, you click on Get a Platform, and there's different options that you would have. Development is just a development environment without the ability to have your own domain. Then there's standard, medium, large, different, the capacity that, what these machines can do changes, of course. And then there's a few add-on stuff. And then you say, well, I just want a medium, and I want to buy this. And then you get prompted for credit card information and all of that. And I will not do this in a live video stream. First you choose your location. For some reason, it's a little bit slow today. That's surprising. Okay, and there I can enter all the payment information. We also have a partnership with Commerce Guys, so you probably don't want to do this all by yourself. Make sure you talk to someone from Commerce Guys before creating your project. And of course, for enterprise customers, you want to make sure that you have a custom setup. But nonetheless, this is really live. This is something that anybody can use, even if you're not working with Wunderkraut. So you can sign up there. In my case, I asked Robert Douglas to set up a quick project for me, so this way I don't need to pay anything. And also, as Wunderkraut, as Commerce Guys partners, we're going to be able to set things up a little bit differently to have some advantages. More on this coming later, not today. But so I now have a project that is set here. What I have here on top is a quick drop-down that lets me select what project I want to be working on. And in this case, I have Wunderkraut demo. And the project ID for this is always a random string. This happens to start with 7 keg. I think it means that Robert Douglas owes me a lot of beer, something like that. So this is what it looks like. You've probably seen this before. What we have here on the left, we have a list of the various environments. And then here we have information and actions related to the current environment. Here we have a log of the last things that happen related to this environment. And we have a couple of actions that are available for each environment. we also have information about this environment and how to access it. One of them is, well, opening the site through the web, and then the other one is accessing this environment from SSH. We'll take a look at that in just a second. And then you also have some things that you can configure for each environment. Some of these will have an effect outside of the environment, so they're more, well, not global thing, but hierarchical things. So any sub-environments will also be affected. We'll also take a look at this. And one thing that's important to know is that environments, they are hierarchical. This means that for each environment, I can create sub-environments, and these are going to be branches, Git branches that are forked off the original. For example, here I have master, which would typically be your live environment. And this is the only one that you get out of the box. And then you can create more environment. I already created a stage environment. This is where the customer will be able to take a look at things right before we do a release. And then we have a release branch. And inside of this, I created more, well, feature branches or stuff that I wanted to test out. And I can always use the interface to switch, well, to push code and to merge back code between the different environments. So let's say I'm on the demo branch. I know that there's a few things that have been updated on stage environment. Maybe I need to get the latest code or the latest database. I can sync this environment and say, well, I want to sync only the code or only the database and the files. In this case, I just want to sync the code. I don't really care about the latest content. It takes a little bit. And in reverse, you can also say, well, I have something on the stage environment that I would like to merge back into the master environment, the live environment. So with this system, you're always following the parent branch. So this is something that's really practical. Of course, you can also do this through Git because everything is mirrored between Git and the platform UI. The only thing that you cannot do, or I think it might have been added, the functionality, but I'm not really sure, is that when you create a branch, you want to create it through the platform and not necessarily create it from Git itself. So how does the code itself look like? So there's, you can, well, get the code through Git directly, but there's also a platform CLI tool. You can get it, well, just Google for platform CLI. I have it installed. So I'm just going to move to a random place on my computer. Now I have, when I run this platform command, what I get a list of the projects that I have access to. And here I have my my Wundertalks demo project. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it. So I'm platform get, and then the project ID. It's complaining that I already have something, but what I have in there is pretty much what I have, what you get when you run this command. So I'm going to just 7keg. Okay, in here what I have, well, maybe oh no, I'm not. It's not Git, and I'm going to. Well, I hope this is big enough. What you get here when you run platform inside of a project folder, you get a list of the environments, and you see how they are structured. So you have the master, you have stage, and then under stage you have the demo environment, and then under demo, you have Drupal 8 and platform hooks. These are environments where it tested out new things. And I have the choice, if I want to push all of these things back. You can also see I have a list of commands, things I can do. For example, I want to back up my my master environment. So I can say platform. Currently, I'm on the stage environment. I want to. Well, I'm just going to back up the stage environment. This is going to be easier. Platform and environment backup stage. Actually, I don't even need that because I'm already on the stage environment. And I see a backup of environment has been created. And if I switch here, I see, hey, there's something happening here already. So this is how you get the code. And then what do you have inside of this project? So you have 4 directories. Actually, the one that's really interesting is the repository directory. What we have here, we have a relatively, and I'm going to switch to the master environment because this is where we have something that's really close to what you get when you just get started. So what we have here, we have these. Well, we see the content of the repository when we get started. We have a makefile. So when you have a makefile, a project.make in your folder, in your repository, Platform will automatically treat this as a Drush makefile. We see that there's not much in it. Actually, the only thing that was there originally is just Drupal core and the platform indicator module. And I added the Redis module with the accompanying library. I also added the devel module, the views module, and the features module, just to have a couple of things to show off. So really send Drush makefile, and then you have the directories for, well, your modules, your themes, and your libraries, things that will end up inside default modules, themes, libraries, and so on. So we have this project. Now we want to, well, we would like to test this locally. We still want to have a local environment. So we can do platform build, and it's going to build a directory. Well, it's going to create a directory under the build directories, the one that's one level up. So now under builds, we see that we have multiple builds. Here, the one that we just did of the master environment. And under WW, we have the last environment that was built. So this is nothing really fancy, but it's nice to have a tool like this that puts all these components together in a way that works exactly the same way as what you have on the server, the remote server. Yeah, so this is how you get the code. And then when you want to change something and you want to push that, well, I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to switch back to the stage branch. This is where I've been pushing stuff. I know you shouldn't push stuff directly on stage, but I really don't have that much time to do a formal process. So what can I do? Well, I would like to add, let's say, the magic module. So I'm going to just edit this makefile. I'm going to add projects. and there, country. Status, I see, okay, there's a change. Exactly what I wanted to change. Add magic module. Great, okay, now I'm going to push this. And anytime I push to an environment, it's going to automatically deploy on that environment. I see here what's happening. I see that the features, platform, Redis, Devil, views, and magic module are being added, being downloaded. Everything is being built. It takes a little bit of time to create everything, and then once this returns, it means that the environment is fully created and it's there. Actually, if something happens here, it's not going to. Nothing bad is going to happen. The commit already happened. What is happening here is just waiting for the confirmation. So if you really don't want to wait, you can just interrupt this process. But we see here, okay, we have this code that was pushed. You can see, you can check on the stage environment. By the way, this was created automatically. And now if we go to the modules, oh, overlay, yay. We see that we have the magic module. Okay. And then we're now quite sure that we want to use this magic module, and we could, well, if we want to have this on the master environment, I would come here to stage and say, okay, I want to merge. And it would merge into master. I'm not going to do that right now. I'd like to keep master as a relatively clean environment, just for demo purposes. So where are we at in here? So we saw how to register projects, basics of the user interface. We saw how to check out the code. And well, one more thing that the platform CLI tool does is that it creates Drush aliases for you automatically. So if I, okay, so with Drush SA, so I think site alias, something like that. I only know the shortcut. It gives you a list of all the Drush aliases that have been created. And we see here that for each of the environments that I have on my project, an alias was created automatically. So if I want to, well, clear the cache on the stage environment, I would just say drush at this alias, and I would, well, cc all. Or I could enable the magic module. Stuff like that. So these Drush aliases are quite practical. You can also use them to move code around, well, to move databases around, things like that. So anything that you can do generally with Drush aliases, you can also do it in this case. Also, pushing, deploying code, well, you just push and then the deployment happens automatically. There are a few things that, well, that you can configure about how things get deployed. And there's a couple of configuration files in your repository when you get started. One of them is the platform.app.yaml, and this file really lets you configure how things should be deployed, how your app should be deployed. So you have the name of the application. Haven't really tried changing this, or apparently you can have multiple applications in the same project. This is something that we haven't tried yet, but I think that it works quite well. So you could have well, multiple Drupal instances or stuff like that running inside of one environment, or you could have a small Symfony application that is running parallel to Drupal. So we see here Drupal, well, Platform.sh is optimized for Drupal, but it's not a Drupal-only hosting service. So we see that for each application, you can determine the tool stack that you would like to have. So in this case, it's Drupal. I could also say I want a Symfony project. Also something that I have not tried, but this is something that is, it's quite good to know that the platform is technology agnostic. The one thing that I'm personally very excited about is when they're going to be able to say, well, I don't want PHP, but I want Node.js or Node, something like that. Of course, Drupal is not going to run on Node, but it's an infrastructure that is built to be able to handle multiple types of technologies. And so we have our basic, well, stack, and then it has relationships to other components. In this case, by default, we have MySQL, we have Solr, and we have Redis. We could imagine that in the future we would have, instead of Solr, we'd have Elasticsearch or something like that. So at the moment, this is not supported, but we've been talking with the guys at Commerce guys, the guys behind Platform, and it's not excluded that, well, it's definitely happening, and it's definitely going to happen, that more technologies will be added to this stack. Then there's some configuration about where your document root is, what kind of, what is allowed, what kind of requests you can get from the outside. Also, the disk size for your files, how things get mounted. And here is the interesting part. So we have hooks, things that happen after something has been deployed. So by default, we get, we just go to where the app is on the server, and then you just run drush updb. This is something that we'd like to add. We would like to also be able to, to have features be reverted automatically. And this is just a matter of adding this line. You can do more stuff. One thing that we've done, for example, was to here trigger our continuous integration tool, so that all the tests would be triggered once an environment is deployed. So there's really a lot of stuff you can do. You can adapt your development workflow. You can also configure multiple cron jobs. So you can see that Drupal, well, this is actually just the name of this job. We could name it anything, but we see that the Drupal standard cron job is running every 20 minutes by default. I could also say, well, I have something very special, and the command is, and would be, well, I wanted this to run every minute. And something like that. And I could commit this, and then I would see in the logs that it's actually happening. We've used this too on one of the projects where we had some very specific tasks that had to be run pretty much every minute, but we didn't want to run the default cron job every minute. So this is great, and then, well, sometimes your code or the things that you want to happen on deployment or on cron, they don't work, and sometimes your code is broken, and well, it happens. In this case, it makes sense to, well, first of all, you would get a notification that deployment failed. Actually, these are two separate things. If your deployment fails, you have some issue and the old deployment stays in place. And then if you notice that there's, well, the deployment didn't fail, but something is missing, it looks like your deployment hook wasn't working properly, you can SSH into the server. And there, well, you can, first of all, you can see how your code is deployed. We see that under sites, all modules, we have, well, sites all contrib, we have all the modules that we wanted to have. So the make file is working fine. And what we also have, and this is quite interesting, we have some pretty good logs. And these are pretty cleaned up, and you only get logs that happen since the last deployment. So we have the deployment log, for example. Oh, there was some error happening. Good thing I'm looking at this. Oh, this was older, and actually this is the last deployment that I did, and yeah, it looks like everything was fine. So this is quite nice. I can also take a look at the cron log. Okay, I see that recently there was a successful cron run. See here above that, well, there was some issues with the Redis client for Redis, and so we've seen the log, hey, there was something happening. But so we get access to the logs, and they're quite useful. So that's very nice. We had a look at deployment hook and cron, the logs. And one more thing that's nice on the server, and this is something that you're not going to get locally when you build your project with Make. So if we have a look at sites default settings.php, this file is actually getting added automatically. And so if you don't have one, it gets added for you. If you do have one, just make sure to include the settings.local.php and everything will be fine. But this is something that's, so it's quite flexible. If you really want to have things in settings.php, you can, but it's not needed. And then in the settings.local.php, then that's where the default configuration from the environment is getting added. So we see that we have the relationships, all the metadata about the platform is really available to us. So we have these relationships which are available as base64 encoded JSON. So this is where it's pulling the information from to get databases, Solr configuration, stuff like that. It also for the route, we'll get to this, and then we see that pretty much all of this is we get all the information. So this is there by default, but if you want to be able to have some more insights or to use some of that metadata in your application, there's really nothing stopping you from doing that. And here we see that there's this conf variable is also being used a little bit. Well, it's adding something there. And what is happening is that we get environment variables. Those that are prefixed with Drupal, they get added to this conf object, well, this conf array. And what's really cool is that you are able to edit those from the UI. So you can say, for example, and this is something that is, and we get a little glitch in the UI. This happens. This is one of the things that, it's improved quite a bit, but there's still sometimes couple of things that are surprising. But so we're back now to the Wundertalks demo project. For the master environment, I can define specific variables. So for example, I always want to have the cache enabled, no matter what is in the database. So for the live environment, this is really nice. And you want to make sure that no matter what happens in the deployment, or if you move a database from another server, you really want to make sure that the cache will be enabled. You can also use this to set, well, your alternate cache backend mechanism. So you can really just add any kind of variables. You can also add not only strings, but also, well, objects or arrays, like it is, like in this case. You also always want to have CSS compression and, well, aggregation, as well as JavaScript aggregation enabled. So this is really nice. And what is happening is, well, these variables are also inherited by other environments. So I go to the stage environment, I can edit this. I see that I have the same variables that are inherited. What I can do, I can override them. So let's say on stage, I really don't want to have the cache enabled. You can, well, the block cache in this case, you can do this. So if I'm on stage, I go to configuration, performance. I see that, oh, actually these variables only take effect once you deploy. So because I just changed this and I didn't deploy since then, these variables are not there yet. You'll see that it's already half an hour. So we're reaching actually the end. So I'm just going to mention a couple more things, maybe, well, 3 or 5 more minutes. So we have these environment variables, and this is a really nice way to manage the differences between environments. There's also sometimes, well, for example, the shield module that you would use to protect access, well, anonymous access or unwanted access to the staging or development environments. You could say, well, I want to, on master, I don't want to have it enabled, and then using these environment variables, you could say, well, from stage and anything that is under stage, I want to have an HG access protection. So this is something, a tool that's very simple, but it turns out to be really practical. Also, if you want to only have Google Analytics configured on the live site and to have another testing account on the staging site, you can do that. So anything that's related to integration with external systems. For example, you want to use a test payment gateway on the staging site and the live, the real payment gateway on the live site. You can do that without any worry that when you get the code from the live environment back to stage, and well, you migrate your database as well, that you're going to be able, well, you're going to accidentally make real payments from the staging site, stuff like that. And this is really it's something that was a bit of a surprise, and it's been really helpful. Yeah, you also have different routes. So typically the name of an environment is, well, the URL of an environment is environment name dash project name .eu.platform.sh. I'm guessing EU turns into US if you have your project hosted there. And this is nice, but sometimes you want to have multiple domains, or you want to have your domains be named differently. For example, we had the case, we had one project that was running under, well, the German version under site name.de and the English version under .com. And we wanted to be able to test this from, well, from any environment. And what we did in those routes, we added a new route that said, well, we're going to have, it's going to be de dot default, and we're going to send this as well to the upstream, which is PHP. PHP, which is actually the name of our application, which has been configured here in the YAML file. So you can say, well, I want this alternative URL, and this would make it possible to reach the domain under a de -stage. And so this is something I haven't seen any hosting provider that really gives you the flexibility to have multiple environments, well, arbitrary environments, and at the same time to really have multiple URLs for each of these environments. So if you're building multilingual website or international website that use the domain-based language detection, this is fantastic. And finally, DNS setup. So now I have this site that is running here. Actually, the staging and the master environment is the one that would be the live one. And if I want to say, well, to run this under my own domain, I would need a DNS that points to this. This is hosted on the Amazon infrastructure, so it doesn't have a fixed IP. So it means that you would use either a CNAME, or if you, the recommendation would really be to host your DNS server on Amazon's infrastructure with a root 53. And what you get there is that you can configure aliases, DNS aliases, and this means that you can use this, and it works with the flexible infrastructure provided by Amazon and by the platform. So this is just something that's a little thing to know of. Your DNS will need to be on a provider that supports alias records. Okay, so I think that this was maybe a little bit chaotic, but it gave you a quick overview of the various possibilities that Platform.sh provides. And I think I'm going to let it sit for a little bit so everyone can think of what they would like to do with this. And of course, if you have any questions, please reach out to me in our company hip chat, or just by email. And yeah, and next week is WunderCon, so there's not going to be a Wundertalk. Actually, stop sharing and go back to the screen. So next week, no Wundertalk because there is WunderCon, and the week after that we have more topics coming up. I don't have them on the top of my head, but yeah, I'm really excited to meet, to see many of you again next week, and to meet some of the new colleagues that we have from across Europe. So have a great week until then, and yeah, have fun with Platform. Bye.